Good evening, all. Okay, Ashley's giving a bit of a head wobble. That's okay.
I like our new intro. It's so fun.
It's cool, isn't it? Thanks, Nick, for creating that.
Nick did a great job.
Like the music.
Yeah, great job. So, everyone, please do subscribe to this platform. We are doing good things. And tonight we're talking, obviously there's a trigger warning stream again. We're going off from pain to power theme. We're going to be, and obviously come February, we're going to change the entire theme again. What tried to break us in reality built us. So obviously we've got Ashley, who's going to be obviously probably going on a rant with this topic. And obviously we've got Nick, who's going to try and use his skills to say stop struggling and use that resilience to kick ass.
Definitely.
And I've done Ashley's favourite thing. I've gone into ChatGPT with some questions. So she's always going to use that against me now for the rest of my days. I know she is.
I am.
So if anyone's got any questions, please do put them in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. So the first question, straight as it comes, what does the phrase "what tried to break us built us" mean to you on a personal level?
Nick, I'll let you go first.
Sure. Well, definitely. I think there's the saying, "What doesn't break you makes you stronger." I think definitely we are tested at times in our life, and we all have ups and downs and challenges, and how we cope with that during the challenge or afterwards is our test of our ability to have resilience to move forward. I mean, personally, I think in the moment at times, I've had moments where I thought, well, how am I going to get over this? How am I going to get past this? There's been moments in my past where I would, when I spent my wife and I wasn't working and I came homeless and it was COVID. And there was a moment where I thought, how can I get past this? How can I rebuild my life? But of course, looking ahead, obviously, that experience did grow me as a person. It did make me stronger, without a doubt. I learned a lot from the experience. I learned to, I think you look back and you learn from it and you try and do things better or do things differently next time. And I think life is definitely a journey, and life, we all make mistakes, we all make wrong decisions, and that, we're not perfect, no one is. But I think it's trying to sort of learn from our experiences, and so certainly, definitely from my own personal experiences, I think I would say that, I think I would do regularly, look at, look at, what I'm doing, what I've done, and I think, what can I do better? How can I, move forward my life? Because you're constantly trying to move forward, and constantly trying to learn from what we're doing. And I think for me, I'm constantly reviewing what I'm doing and reviewing what my past and trying to sort of see how I can, do things better. So definitely, very rings very true of me. That saying, definitely.
Yeah, Ashley.
I look at every experience kind of like Nick said. Like, every experience has a lesson within it, and good or bad, it's really up to us what we're going to do with those lessons. If we're going to use it to pivot, or if we're going to stay stuck in like a victim mentality.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, in reality, you could look at my illness 8 years ago now as what tried to break me, but now I've utilized it to build me into who I am today and what I do today and what I am about and share with other people. So that's what I got without going into a huge thing and taking away all your other questions.
Oh, I'm sure I'll get you two talking tonight. I'm sure I will.
What
Hello,
about you?
Karen.
What does it mean for you? You can't
Three of
stay
us.
out
There's
of
three
it.
of us in the- yeah, three of
All
us.
right, okay, yeah, this is equal. What tried to break me, built me? I'd say opportunity, opportunity to grow, and it's. I don't want to echo a little bit, but it's. Kerry's eating grapes, okay, but it's taken away that victim mentality. And straight away, while I was listening to you both talk, I'm like, when it comes, there's a lot of people that's still talking like they are victims, and I remember a time ago when I was in mental health crisis, and I rang the mental health team, and I spoke to them a little bit about my backstory, stuff like that, and they said I'm a victim of domestic violence. And I sat with that for a while, and I'm like, I'm not. I'm not a victim. I'm more of a survivor, because you see the positive in that. So yeah. So, and I think that's where the healing journey begins, is when you're admitting there's positive rather than just negative. If that makes sense.
Well, and when we look at even like the breaking, right? We don't necessarily think of the internal struggle sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
We think that it needs to be more an external for people to be like, oh, they're in a tough spot, right? It's more so like what's happening internally that maybe we're hiding from people. Because when we're in that crap place, either mindset or just that internal breaking, again, this comes back to the last couple of weeks where we've been talking about communication and letting our expectations be known.
Yeah.
If you're not having conversation with people and you're not in communication with people, nobody knows how they can help you through the breaking. Yes, there needs to be your own self-reflection and your own self-inner work, but sometimes when we don't know where to start with that, it might be finding a coach that works through either trauma-based coaching or like myself for identity coaching. And it isn't just about the self-care piece. It's getting to those foundational levels and really figuring out, like, why am I struggling here? What's triggering me in this moment? And why is it triggering me? What did I experience most likely as a child? What did I witness as a child to then formulate my own opinion and own stories about? So, I mean, there's a lot that can happen when you're breaking internally, but again, it all comes down to asking for help. And most of us don't want to do that out of pride, ego, embarrassment. Like, we just want to keep it bottled in, thinking that it's going to resolve itself, but it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, I get that, because obviously it's going off the I'm not going to say religion stuff, because I'm not into any of that, but me and Kerry was up during the night because Wyatt was just being a pain in the ass, and obviously I couldn't sleep anyway, and obviously he was kicking me in the back, which fine, okay, whatever, that's how he does. But then there's things on my mind. I had I think we've all got some sort of a higher power that connects with us on the spiritual way, and something was telling me someone's going to need help today. And then I just thought I'd scroll through social media and stuff like that, and I'm part of a few WhatsApp groups, and one particular one Obviously, I go to AA and stuff like that. People know, and this particular group, someone put a comment up saying, "Is anyone available to chat?" So I jumped on that straight away, and I'm like, "Okay, let's talk." So and now I'm helping them do this. I spoke to them for what, like 20 minutes, half an hour, and yeah, because they were going to do something stupid. I've helped them through it, and I'm going to help them further. But that shows that resilience, that I was once broken, and now I don't want to be broken anymore. I want to help, and that's my intentions.
It's interesting. I think the best way to, in some ways, to get over your own challenges is to help others, and because then you see that I think sometimes we feel like we've got no control of our lives, but actually for helping others, we got to it's something work we help make a positive impact on someone else's life. And you go to a man's club, which is for men to talk, because men aren't very good at talking. And what I observed was that everyone had different problems. Everyone's problems are unique. There's no better or worse. Everyone's a unique person. But by talking and sharing, everyone left feeling better, and everyone just listening. And everyone would give suggestions of things they could try. And I think, so everyone will still had their problems, and there's still you. But I think, just like you said, if you can just help one person by listening or sharing your suggestions where they might prove it, then that's sometimes the best way forward, isn't it?
Absolutely. So the next question is, and this is going to get us all thinking here, was there a moment when you realised a painful experience actually changed you for the better?
My whole experience?
Any scenario. Like with me, I'd say what changed me for the better was actually, believe it or not, I know it's a trigger warning, but me attempting suicide. That actually changed me for the better, because it made me realise that that I have a purpose. Yeah. Was I scared? Of course. Did Kerry and my kids help me through that? Yeah, they did. So yeah, because I was literally frightened to even come downstairs, frightened to even go out the front door, and even Kerry noticed I was shaking like fuck. Yeah, but I managed to get through it.
Well, and like I said before, I think even for me, it was my illness. If that event wouldn't have happened, I probably would have continued on the same path of living in burnout and exhaustion and feeling like I need to do everything myself and all of the things. What are you? So that, I think, for me was, again, what that turning point was, is I can't continue to live in this state of being anymore. Like, something needs to change, or the next time I get sick, it could be the last type of a situation. Because it was very scary, very, very scary. So yeah, that I think is what changed for me.
I've got one for you, Nick. Why do you think growth so often comes from struggle rather than comfort?
I think that we can, when we're in a state of comfort, I think we can be less likely to take action to improve our lives. And sometimes we may need to improve our lives. Maybe it could be we're not in a healthy relationship. We've got a job that's stressful, to us, and affecting our health. It could be anything, but we know that it's, it's not good for mental health or physical health being in the situation we are, but we're comfortable. Maybe we think, well, at least a job gives me job security on a risk change, or maybe they're the same relationship. The thought of leaving it is too daunting if you've been a long time. And I think, but sometimes, if we go for enough, pain can be, I guess, a motivator sometimes, and I think that's why sometimes we reach, if everyone has a different point limit or their point where they reach a point and then they think, no, enough's enough, I've got to take action. And I think that being in a state of comfort, a state of security, a state of reliability, even if it's not healthy in some ways, it's not the right thing. I think we know what if we think, well, I'm ticking most of the boxes, I don't want to rock the boat, but actually pain can be that thing where it gives you that realization, well, no, I need to take action. This is, it gets to that point where you think, something's got to change, I think.
Absolutely. This is a good one. This is straight for you, Ashly. Did you have to unlearn any beliefs that pain taught you?
I think there was a lot of beliefs that I had to unlearn, and in some of them I still struggle with today, as I think a lot of us do when we are put into pain. We often wonder and ask ourselves the questions like, why me? Why am I going through this? What did I do to deserve this, right? Mm-hmm. And when we really think about the things that happen, and I'm not saying it's every single situation, but when we really think about some of the things that happen in our lives, in reality, it is a natural consequence.
Yeah.
Like, if you end up with a severe illness or diagnosis or whatever it is, it didn't just happen overnight. It didn't just show up. It was years of abuse within your body. And what do I mean by that? It could be intaking harmful substances, whether it be alcohol or drugs or, toxic foods. It could be anything, right? Anything that you put into your body over years and years and years that are very unhealthy for you, your body is eventually going to rebel against you. And then all of a sudden one day you're like, oh, I wonder why I'm a diabetic, or I wonder why this, or I wonder why that. And we automatically think like, oh, well, it's just my genes. It's just what it's just who I am. No, you have to trace it back to, okay, what types of things did I eat as a child all the time? What things did I, consume here as an adult? Or like, it could be anything, right? So certain situations, like for mine as an example, I had back-to-back pregnancies. I had zero recovery time, to be honest. And it was like, oh, you just had a baby? Okay, 3 days later, you're cleaning your house. Like, there was no true rest and sleep deprivation and thinking that I could do it all without some sort of repercussion.
Yeah.
When I literally exhausted my body to the point of, you're not going to come back from this right now. Like, I am going to force you to go into rest mode and recovery mode and all of those things, right? So no matter how healthy I was, it still caught up to me in burnout and exhaustion and all of the things, right? From years of not taking care of myself. So that was a natural consequence.
Oh, it always catches up. It always
catches up.
Yeah,
and that, I feel like, is really why I moved from I'm going to sell skincare to I need to teach women how to take care of themselves in a better way. And now it's turned more into like the identity of learning who we truly are beyond all of the roles that we play. And it's no different from men, but women seem to take on a heck of a lot of roles in their lives.
Yeah.
And we wear them like, oh, no, I got to put this mask on today and I got to put this mask on. Oh, everything's fine. It's great. And then you're behind closed doors and in your house, you behave one way out in public. And then at home, you're a totally different person.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can let your guard down and do all the things. Or maybe you're masking yourself within your family, within your, with your kids, with your spouse, whatever. And again, you're not communicating that you need help and letting your expectations be known or what your needs are being, like, you're not verbalizing them. So there's so much to, I think, this topic in general, that just, yeah, we can either let it build us or we can let it hurt us.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I've actually learned to let go of some beliefs of me, because when it comes to, and I'm going to say it, and I know Kerry's will be like, oh shit. When I'm talking to professionals and they're doing wrong to our kids, I am on them like a pack of hyenas. I really am. And part of me does become aggressive. I admit it really does. But now I've learned aggressive only gets you so far. And if you really want change, say what you've got to say. Direct, fine, okay. But it's always in the words what we say. So I've now learned to be more calm and and I actually use ChatGPT for absolutely everything. It like Kerry says, I use AI to even help me with emails to get me through it all. And you know what? It really helps. It benefits.
Yeah, sometimes we think things will get better, like I'll just get through to next year, or it just, it's just a tricky patch, work this out with its relationships or with jobs, just, things will be different new year, it's just busy. But yeah. I think, that's what we should actually be doing is thinking, well, what can I do now? Because if we put things off, defer action, then things could get better or they could get worse, and I think that's leaving a bit to chance. So really we should be sort of confronting an issue and resolving it in the best way we can, because I think sometimes if we just try to get on with it and not resolve it positively, directly, then I think that can be sometimes a problem. We can just defer things rather than deal with them.
That's why I think sometimes there's certain situations that I become very impatient on, because it's like, if you're thinking about doing something, whether it be working on yourself or wanting to change dietary habit, like whatever it is, right? The first, 3 to 5 seconds that it first pops into your head, if you don't start taking action into it, you're never going to do it. It's just going to be something you procrastinate and you push aside. So if you want to start making, like, say, dietary changes or whatever it is, okay, your first action step, maybe it is going to ChatGPT or AI and be like, okay, I want a meal plan. This is what I want to do. This is my goal. And get into action to brainstorm, okay, where do I take this from here? And then you download like a grocery shopping app or whatever it is, and you start finding some of those items and adding them to your cart. Or you're going to the grocery store and you're focusing on like the outer aisles of the grocery store instead of the inner aisles, right? but it all starts with like one action step, no matter how big or how small, but it starts with taking the action step. Otherwise, it's just like, what is it? A goal is a dream without action or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, you've heard that phrase before, that quote or whatever. So it requires.
I think what you're trying to say is, because there was a saying, weren't it? You either when you wake up in the morning, you've got two choices. You either can get up and go and chase your dreams and goals, or you can go back to sleep and dream your goals and dreams.
But they say that, I heard the expression that the first hour of the day is the golden hour because it sets the rest of the day. So if you get up and you try and think positively, and you have a good routine. So if it's having a shower, doing some affirmations, having a coffee, then that starts your day well. But if you get up late, snooze, don't eat breakfast, so the first hour, the first moment, it sets a pace for the rest of the day. I think that's
the thing is, I'm reading 30 books all throughout 2026. I actually started on the 27th of December last year. That's when I started. I didn't wait till first. I thought, you know what, I'll get started. And I'm on my second book already. Right. Second book. And the first one I read was about sleep. And Kerry's going to shut up, Adam. Just shut up. But the thing is, it actually states to get a good night's sleep, when you wake up the next morning, you wait an hour before you make a coffee.
Okay.
You wait an hour. Otherwise, it'll impact you.
Here we go. It's funny, I love the people I coach.
And Ashly's looking at me with the depth stare.
I have a coffee first thing, but a lot of people I talk to, they say, "Oh, but I don't know what to do." But, I'm overwhelmed with options almost, and they say, "Well, what if I make the wrong decision? What if I? There's so many things I think I could try, but what if I try the wrong one and it's not the right decision or it's not the right idea?" And then sometimes they don't take action because there's so many choices of action in that sense. So they're sort of overwhelmed by it, and I think trying to say, well, surely it's better to take some action. If it's not the right one, then you can stop and try the other one. But it's all starting, like you say, with the almost getting those ideas and choosing one.
It almost becomes like an analysis paralysis, is what one of my coaches always said. Like, you get into analysis paralysis, you're trying to just overanalyze every single decision that you make versus just making the decision.
Yes.
So you just stop and you don't make a decision, and then you wonder why your life sucks. I don't know. Maybe because you're not making a decision.
And then you start making excuses for yourself, don't you?
Well, yes. I mean, in all honesty, like, I could make every excuse under the sun. All of us can, right?
Yep.
I feel like I could probably make more than most people. And this is what I tell people in some of the coaching communities that I'm in. If you're going to pay to be in a class that is 12 weeks long or 8 weeks long or whatever, then show up. Don't dish out the excuses, because let me tell you, everybody's got them. They all suck. And quite honestly, I don't want to hear your excuses, even as just another student in there, because I have kids, I have dogs, I have multiple businesses that I run. I have a husband. I'm a homeschooling mom. Like, I've got outside farm animals, chickens, ducks, all the things, right?
Oh, this is a farm girl.
I've got excuses. I have 7 kids. 6 of them are still here at home. Like, I have all the excuses in the world that I can provide, but I still show up and still do the work because it's intentional. If I'm going to invest in myself, then I am going to invest in myself. Yes. I'm not just going to spend $5,000 on a class and be like, meh, that's dumb. Like, I'm just telling you right now, that's dumb. Like, I could think of 5 million other things to do with $5,000 for a class if I'm not going to show up for myself. And not only that, but what is it telling your brain? It's telling your brain that you don't honor your commitments. You're not a person of integrity. Like, you're not worthy. You're not enough. See, I told you couldn't do it. And then you get into this like paralysis type of a thing. And then you question your decisions. And then you turn around and you ask the main, coaching person or the program creator for a refund when it had nothing to do with them. It was your lazy ass that didn't take the action.
Okay.
Like, let's just call it what it is.
So that's where I've come to it, is what parts of you from your experience were built because of the pain, not despite it?
Well, I don't know if I'm. So when I was,
I'm loving these questions.
And when it was sort of a COVID, and I was at my family member's house in the south coast of England, and there was some stuff happened there, and I had to. They said I had to leave, and I had nowhere to go, and I had no money, and I had the paralysis. I thought, well, how do I resolve? There's so many things to resolve, but then I came thinking, well, I'll just tackle one head on, just choose one, the most important one, which was getting like some accommodation. And that was all I concentrated on. I just, I stayed with a friend's flat for a while, and I just step by step, and that's what I did. And then when I had that, then I thought, okay, now I've got to get some sort of work, get money coming, then see my son again, and just do it one priority at a time. Mm-hmm. And I think what I found was that I never thought I was someone who coped very well with change. I was someone who always liked, looking back when I was in my 20s, 30s, I had a career jobs for a while, for 20 years, so I got made redundant a few times and things happened. And I like that comfort, I like that security. And I thought I wasn't someone who coped very well with change. I didn't think I was very resilient. But actually looking back, I think, well, actually, I look back now and say, well, actually, look at all the stuff I've been through. 4 redundancies. I was made homeless. I lost all my, I got for all that, and then here I am now, in a lovely flat, seeing my son. I got a business. I got, so actually, the reality I thought was not the reality at all. It's just the way I was defining myself, from. So I think that's one thing I've learned, that actually, it's created that resilience, which I never thought I had.
So with you two being business people, I'm going to put you both on a spot here. So talking personal versus professional here. Do you think people who've been through pain connect differently with others?
Yes.
Why?
Of course you're going to ask me the why. No, I think it's...
And how?
I think it's, like I said before, when you've been through something, it becomes harder to hear excuses, but then it's also listening to where they're at and meeting them where they're at. Like empathizing with them. Like, I understand that this is what you're going through, like, in that relatability, but at the same time, are they playing the victim role, or are they doing something to get out of it? Mm-hmm. Because it's very easy when you've been through the crap of the crap, like you said, Nick, divorce, homelessness, not seeing your son, like all of those things. Like, you could have continued to live in victimhood and you'd still probably be homeless, right?
Of course.
But like, you decided this isn't where my life stops. This is where I get to decide, what am I going to do about it? So it ultimately comes down to, what are you going to do about it? Are you just going to sit there and complain and piss and moan and all of the things? Or are you going to take action to make changes? Because when things happen in our lives, that's where the deciding fork in the road happens. I'm going to stay in victimhood, or I'm going to go this way. And now I'm going to use that scenario and that pain and all of the things that happened to me. Now I'm going to use it to serve other people, to help other people with it. But also, like, I get to decide what happens. What do I create out of this? Because every single millionaire out there will tell you, I've lost everything. I've lost it all. I've lost the marriage. I've lost the house. I've lost the cars. I've lost all of my money, but I can make it back. Yeah. And a lot of what they will say is, I wish I would have failed faster. Because it's all in how we look at those scenarios in our lives too. The faster you fail, the faster you succeed. But are you looking at failure as lessons of that didn't work and we're not going to do that again? Or how can I tweak this, right? So it's all about continuing to move forward when the pain happens and using it as what's the word that I'm looking for? Like using it as a propellant to move you forward versus keeping you stuck in the muck and in the excuses and in the victimhood.
I think it's like, we all have a story. And if you hear, successful entrepreneurs on the stage, and we often start with their story because that's how we connect. And, the best motivational speech often have a powerful story. But I guess, do you want your story to be one you're embarrassed to tell or you're proud to tell? And that is something that I think, we need to look at. Is it, what's happened to us? Is that part of, is that something I'm proud to tell because I went through it, but then I then learned from it and then I maybe more determined than, or is it you're embarrassed to tell because you got stuck in it because you're in victim mode and you blamed everyone, didn't take responsibility, didn't take action. And I think that's, we have to own our stories. It's like, you, Adam, with a lot of your things you share regularly, we have our stories and that's who makes us who we are. And if we can stand up and be proud of, this happened, but I took ownership of it, I took action and
Absolutely. I think the big one of this is about forgiveness. So, what role did forgiveness of yourself or others play in your healing?
Oh, I could start on that. Yeah, massively for me. I mean, I blamed myself for a while when I was in that situation, for the breakdown of my relationship, my marriage, and I, looked back and thought, could I have done things better? Could I make more of an effort? Was anything could I have done more? And I sort of overanalyzed it, and definitely put a lot of, took put all the blame on myself as if it's all my fault. I created this problem. But I think the moment, the moment of really moving forward was when I, said, when I sort of forgave myself, and also realized, of course, it, wasn't all my fault. Of course, it's partly other people in the situation, partly just life, things happen. And I think, when you have acceptance, for what's happened and forgive yourself for whatever mistakes or wrong decisions you might have made, that's really the point you move forward. I think that's the point we think, okay.
Yeah, I believe once you've finally accepted it, that's when you can start taking accountability for your actions, and then that'll become healing and stuff like that. And I do, I don't know if Kerry believes me or not, but with her having BPD and stuff like that, and I can say that because she spoke about it on here before, and the abandonment issues, I'm partly to blame. That I don't say I'm fully to blame, but I'm partly to blame. And I'll keep saying that, whether she believes it or not, because I chose to go and get pissed with idiots who I thought were friends rather than take care of her while she was pregnant with our first. That was wrong with me. I
think there's some power in taking responsibility and taking accountability. Yes. Because actually it takes a strong person to stand up and put their hands up sometimes and say, yeah, look, I'll admit it. I wasn't the best person, or I made mistakes, or I made wrong decisions. Actually being able to do that, so you're a strong person. A weak person will avoid, I think a weak person will avoid responsibility. They avoid accountability. I think if you're actually, it's a signal of strength, isn't it? You stand up and sometimes say, look, okay, I admit I played a part in that. So I think that's...
Ashly, any forgiveness?
Yeah, I mean,
maybe.
Well, I think there had to be forgiveness in a lot of different areas for me. It wasn't necessarily even just myself, but I think a lot of forgiveness towards my husband. Because at that time there was a lot of resentment and bitterness because of the long hours that he worked and not being here a lot, where it did feel like I was a single mom, which essentially led to taking care of everything myself, right? And not asking for help and doing all the things. So I think there had to be a forgiveness, and now that's become part of our story where, you know, he readily says, like, yeah, I wasn't around. I was not a great husband. I wasn't, you know, it cost us a lot. And that I think too is also something that we often talk about, even as business owners who run a business together, is, you know, it cost us a lot of years away from each other before he decided that business was going to become a full-time part of our lives. And again, there had to be a lot of conversation around that, and almost a falling apart of our marriage for there to be that turning point and that realization and that again, conversation and the forgiveness and the I'm sorry and all of that type of stuff. So I think, again, that's part of the portions that have tried to break me over the years that then have built me into the I'm not going to necessarily ask for permission to do certain things anymore where I did before. And that's not to say that, like, my husband and I don't still have conversation about decisions that I'm making, but it's not as much as a, hey, is it okay if I, you know, and asking for permission and almost waiting for him to tell me no. So then it gives me the excuse to say, no, my husband doesn't want me to, or my husband said I can't, or you know what I mean, where then it almost sounds like it's more of that controlling piece. Not that he would do that, but I'm just saying, like, that's just how a lot of times we operate in our marriages is I have to ask my husband first, or let me talk to my husband first, because we don't trust ourselves. So we're almost putting the responsibility of our lack of trust onto somebody else.
Absolutely.
So they give us the permission to say no, right? So it's again, it's one of those mindset things. It's really working through all of that and owning who you are. Because I think a lot of the forgiveness had to come so then I could show up the way that I show up.
Okay.
Because this was not always.
We see a lot of people saying, if I could turn back time, or if I could change what happened in the past, I would. But they never do. So, would you go back and change what happened if you could? Straight away, I'd say no. I would say no.
Now I'm playing the Cher song in my head. If I could turn back time.
If I can find a way.
Oh my gosh.
I'd say no.
That's a tricky one.
I think it depends. Like, if I could go back into time with some of the decisions that I made, I think I would definitely make different ones. Some of the relationships I got into, I would definitely like reevaluate.
Well, it's like that, isn't it? Where you got two choices. You can either have the red pill to have $1 million, pounds, whatever you call it, or the blue pill, where you can go back to being a child, but you've got all the knowledge you've got today.
Right.
It's like if we had,
But I think either way, though, like, I think in the end, those decisions are what helped shape me today as well.
Exactly.
So it's also one of those things like, oh, there's a lot of regret back there that can't be undone, right? And sometimes there's a lot of guilt as well, even though I know like my past is forgiven and all the things, but I think subconsciously there's still probably guilt there of, man, I wish I would have made a different decision. But I think too, like I said, all of those decisions help shape who we become.
Absolutely.
I think it's also the benefit of hindsight. If we knew what the consequences would be of every action, would we do things differently? Of course we would. And yeah, of course, if I could do things differently at some points, I would have done things differently. But would it actually have changed the outcome eventually? I don't know. Would it? Maybe it wouldn't. Maybe because in the time we make a lot of the time, I think we make the best decision we think is what we do. We think is the best decision at the time. We don't know the consequences of every decision we make or everything we do. I think it's so.
Okay. So, how do you balance honoring your pain without letting it define who you are?
I mean,
I love getting you two to think.
I think the way I honor the pain without defining who I am is by sort of owning it as a story. So,
yes.
I do Toastmasters and I give a lot of speeches and I use bits of my different experiences and stories within a speech, perhaps to with a message to motivate the audience, or whatever. And I think that's a way for me that I'm honoring it, I'm remembering it, but it's in a way that but also allowing me to move forward at the same time. So I think that's what I've done. Yeah.
Okay, repeat the question because I was listening to Nick.
How do you balance honoring your pain without letting it define who you are?
Well, I guess like the way I'm just trying to formulate these words in my head so they make sense.
I've got a speechless.
It's not that I've to a degree, let's change this here. To a degree, I would say that I have probably allowed my pain to define me, but in a good way. Okay. So it's allowed me to step more into like my defining confidence and boldness and all of those attributes, I guess you could say, of who I am versus in the negative way. Because I could be very much like defined by my pain. Now, that isn't to say that I still don't have limitations from my pain and my experience, because I think that there still are in some ways to my health journey that create limitations within me that I try very hard to push beyond. But I also know where my limiting like point is of, I better not do that or I'm going to be down for the count type of a thing. So I think it can go either way. I can either let that definition of the pain move me forward and propel me forward and help remind me of like, you are resilient. You are a badass. Like your body has physically been through a lot of things that most people can't even comprehend. And it's survived. It's come out on the other side. And you do have a boldness about you. Like it's something that in the end, it defines who I am today. Or maybe it's the reason that I am the way that I am today, right? Maybe it becomes the reason versus the definition. I don't know. Tomato, tomato. But again, I could have let it define me in a negative way if I really, really wanted to. And sometimes, like I would say in the beginning, I probably did. And that's where my ego and my pride really came into my marriage and was the catalyst to like the breakdown of it. Because it very much became this victim mentality for me after that happened. So I think part of what I've gone through has defined me. But like I said, I think it's defined me in a way that I choose it to.
Yeah. I would say it's more accepting that the pain happened, but we have two choices again. Are we going to let it live our lives for us? Are we going to say, right, okay, it happened, but what am I going to do about it? I'm going to let it define who I am and let it take over my identity, affect me on a personal level, which will affect everyone I love? Or am I going to like, right, it happened, but I'm going to change that, change my response to it? It's all down to the trauma.
I don't think I'll be able to. So with my mindset coaching I do, but I'm doing some workshops around burnout and stress, and I don't think I'll be able to do those as well as I will be if I hadn't gone through some level of burnout and stress myself. I think that brings I can bring more to the to the workshop, through my experiences. I think that gives me more expertise, more authority, because I've sort of been through that and I can use what I've learned. I can use my story. So I think that, that's definitely something. Wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing if it wasn't for it.
Yeah. So what is one truth hardship taught you that peace could never?
What is one truth hardship taught you that peace couldn't?
Yeah. That's a tough one.
Well, I think if everything honestly was peaceful and hunky-dory all the time, we'd live pretty boring lives.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. Because I think hardship, again, this goes back to hardship can teach us so many things. Whether it's your marriage going through hardship, whether it's your business, your finances, like stuff with your kids, like whatever it is, I think in those moments, you figure out what you're made of. You figure out how you really tap into creativity, especially if we look at like a financial one, because I feel like that's probably the easiest one to pick, right? You figure out, okay, how do I create from this? How do I turn this around? What jobs can I pick up? What things can I sell? Like, what creative thing about me? Are there things that I can make and sell, right? Like, what is it that I can do to generate income?
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the easier things. Now, easier things to like, I don't want to say get yourself out of, because financial stuff sucks. Let's just put it that way. But at the same time, like, it's probably one of the easier things to get yourself out of. Marriage, when you're working with another human being and you're attached to another human being and committed to another human, it's not just you, right? Like, you can take the ownership of your part in the relationship and you can work on changing yourself, but you cannot change another person. So if they're not willing to commit to changing and all the things, that's a harder scenario when another person is involved. I'm not saying it isn't possible, but it's just harder because now you're dealing with somebody else who now has to take also responsibility for their part in it. And if they're not willing to do that, it becomes an awkward dynamic, right?
Yeah.
But I really think that it really just comes down to like what do you want to learn from it, and what do you want to come out of that hardship?
Yeah. I would say hardship. Getting clarity on the facts that, because people always ask me why I drank in the first place, or why did I stop drinking, and I always give an answer, sometimes different answers, but they always same outcome. And I would say that it's down to understanding, because at first I never understood why I was doing it anyway, and I had to speak to the program, the fellowship, before I could speak to like Kerry or the kids, or even myself, because I didn't understand, but they did. So I needed to get that understanding before I can put that information onto Kerry. So I think that was hard, because really I should be talking to Kerry first about it rather than other people. That was very much hard.
Yeah, for me, it's I think it's important to try and do what you're got a really strong belief in why you're doing it. You're passionate about it, and peace. Like I know someone I coach, and he's got really he's an accountant, and it's a very he's got a lot of stability and he's got a good career, but he's not happy at all because it doesn't have any passion for it. And I think sometimes if you're doing something that if a hardship can be if it's part of your journey, you're growing, and you've got that vision, that passion for what you're doing, then that hardship can be what's needed to get you want to be. I think it's I don't know if I'm making sense here, but I think
No, you are.
These can sometimes be the easy option to a situation when actually that you need to go through some hardship to get where you really want to be. To get where you really want to be, to do what you're passionate about, can take opposed to a bit of hardship along the way.
I'm gonna give a good question here. If your struggle could speak, what would it say it was preparing you for?
Oof.
Wow.
I would say such a time as this. Because if I didn't have all of the burnout and the exhaustion and the identity lost issues that I had back then, again, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be able to speak into client lives. I wouldn't be able to coach the clients that I have and just show up the way that I do, even for friends. I think it's just a totally different mindset. My relationships are different. My friendships are different. My boundaries are different. And I think the immovableness of when I make something known, this is what it is. We're not backpedaling anymore. So I think it becomes, again, that strength. So if it wouldn't have happened, I'd probably still be focusing on people pleasing and letting people cross boundaries. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think if
Very
hardship
tough question. Very tough.
I think if hardship had a voice, I think it would say, this is to help you do what you're meant to do. This will make, this. It's going back to the title of the show. Is this isn't. Don't let this break you. This will make you. Should make you stronger, more determined, and move. With what I'm doing more, gradually building up the coaching and the workshops. I think, that wouldn't have happened without a lot of the hardships along the way, which has steered me into this, wanting to do this. So I think that hardship will say, this isn't just hardship. This is helping you, guide you into what you want to do, what you can do.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely would say for me, it was preparing me for death because that's all I've ever experienced. And do I experience that now? No, because I've not let it impact me. I've moved on from that. But yeah, the pain and struggle definitely was preparing me for that. And I feel like if it wasn't for the good people in my life, I probably wouldn't even be here today. Tell the story. So yeah,
I think I probably, I think it's at times when you go through hardship. I mean, that's when you realise who you can rely on, who your actual friends or family you can rely on. And I think we know that in times of hardship, often some people, they don't know how to cope with it, or they're too busy, and it's the ones that stand by you and listen and support you, which is not always everyone. It never is.
No, it's not.
Those are the ones, okay, when I really needed you, you were there. So I know, I'll be there for you. That's when who the people you can support you are.
Great. Now you've got the Friends theme song in my head now. Thanks, Nick. But anyway, speaking of people, I think this was brilliant. So yeah, next week we're actually going to be discussing about boundaries and vulnerability and people, because when it comes to friendships, when it comes to relationships, whatever, we're discussing about why not everyone gets access to us. So that's going to be another trigger one, and that was actually from Kerry, that topic. So yeah, obviously Kerry's here, so just to give me the death stare, but okay. But yeah, it'll be good. But yeah, well, let's keep sharing, keep liking, keep communicating, and we will go from there.
Sounds good. Follows the theme. It follows on well.
Good one. So we'll see you all next week.
Yeah, do subscribe.